Do not treat this moment as ordinary. What you are about to declare today is not a motivational phrase, not a hopeful wish, and not a religious routine. This is a spiritual alignment. This is a prophetic act. And if you are here right now, listening to these words, it is because God has already positioned you for a financial shift that will shock your reality. Today is not just another day. Today is a breaking point. Today is the day God interrupts cycles of lack, confusion, and debt that have followed you for years. Cycles that did not begin with you, but that will end with you. What you declare in faith today has the power to realign provision, open unseen doors, and release overflow in areas that have been blocked for too long. There are blessings that only respond to urgency. There are financial breakthroughs that only manifest when a person dares to declare before seeing. And this is why this prayer cannot wait until tomorrow. Delay weakens momentum. Obedience activates acceleration. Heaven responds to faith spoken out loud. Before we go any further, I want you to do something prophetic and practical at the same time. If this channel has been feeding your faith, strengthening your spirit, and aligning you with God's promises, subscribe now. This is not just a button, it is an agreement. By subscribing, you position yourself to continually receive prayers, declarations, and spiritual instructions that guard your mind, your finances, and your future. Stay connected, stay covered, stay aligned. Now, take a deep breath. Let your heart quiet down. Release the anxiety tied to bills, debts, delays, and disappointments. God already knows the numbers. He knows the pressure. He knows the silent fear you never speak out loud. And today, He is not asking you to explain your situation. He is asking you to declare His authority over it. I declare this prayer in full awareness that financial bondage is not just about money. It is spiritual. Debt is often a system of oppression designed to drain peace, steal joy, and keep God's children in survival mode. But today that system is being confronted. I declare in the name of the Lord that I am no longer trapped in cycles of insufficiency. I refuse to normalize struggle when God has promised provision. I refuse to inherit financial patterns that contradict the covenant of abundance established by heaven. Today, as I speak, chains are loosening. Contracts that were working against me are being rewritten by divine authority. Wisdom is replacing confusion. Discipline is replacing waste. Favor is replacing limitation. I declare that money will no longer leave my hands faster than it enters. I declare supernatural order over my finances. I declare that every hidden leak, every silent drain, and every repeated loss is being exposed and corrected by God's hand. This is the beginning. What God starts today, He will sustain. What He releases today, no one can block. If you feel this stirring in your spirit, stay with me. Do not disconnect. What comes next will deepen this declaration and activate even greater authority over debt, income, and overflow. I continue this declaration with spiritual authority and clarity, knowing that words spoken in alignment with God's will do not return empty. Right now, I confront every cycle of debt that has repeated itself in my life. Cycles that seemed endless. Cycles that resurfaced just when I thought I was finally free. Today, those cycles lose their power. I declare that debt no longer defines my future. It no longer dictates my decisions, my peace, or my sleep. I reject the lie that says I will always be catching up, always behind, always one step away from collapse. That lie is broken today. I recognize that some debts were created by necessity, others by lack of knowledge, and some by moments of desperation. But regardless of how they began, they do not have the authority to continue. I place every obligation, every number, every contract, and every bill under the lordship of God. What I cannot solve with human strength, God resolves with divine strategy. I declare supernatural wisdom over my finances. I receive clarity where there was confusion. I receive discipline where there was impulse. I receive patience where there was anxiety. From this day forward, I do not make financial decisions driven by fear, pressure, or comparison. I move with discernment. I move with order. I move with peace. I declare that unexpected provision begins to manifest. Resources I did not anticipate. Opportunities I did not create. Help I did not request, but that God releases anyway. I declare that money begins to respond to obedience. Income begins to respond to stewardship. Favor begins to respond to alignment. Every debt that has felt heavy, overwhelming, or impossible begins to shrink under divine intervention. I declare renegotiation where necessary. I declare cancellation where possible. I declare acceleration where delay once ruled. God is not intimidated by numbers. Heaven is not limited by my current balance. I declare that my hands are blessed. What I touch prospers. What I manage multiplies. What I release returns with increase. I step out of survival mode and into governance. I am no longer reacting to lack. I am commanding order. I declare that my income is no longer capped by past limitations. I break mental ceilings that told me this was as far as I could go. I break generational patterns of financial struggle, scarcity thinking, and constant pressure. What plagued those before me will not follow me. Today, I shift from chasing money to stewarding provision. I shift from anxiety to confidence. I shift from fear to expectation. I declare that God trains my hands for wealth with integrity, humility, and responsibility. I also declare peace over my heart. Money will no longer steal my joy. Bills will no longer silence my praise. Delays will no longer shake my faith. I trust the timing of God even as He accelerates outcomes beyond my understanding. I stand firm in this declaration. Debt is being dismantled, not just reduced. Financial pressure is being replaced by divine order. And overflow is not a fantasy. It is a promise unfolding in stages. This is not the end of the work. This is the strengthening of it. What God begins in the Spirit must now be sealed in consistency and obedience. I continue this declaration with unwavering faith, understanding that overflow is not chaos. It is order multiplied. God does not release abundance to confuse His children, but to establish stability, generosity, and impact. Today, I align myself with that purpose. I declare that overflow begins with alignment. I bring my finances into divine order. I no longer resist correction, instruction, or redirection. I allow God to adjust my habits, refine my priorities, and reshape my relationship with money. I release control and receive guidance. I declare that overflow flows where there is stewardship. I become a faithful manager of what I already have. I honor small beginnings, knowing they carry the seed of increase. I treat every resource with respect, wisdom, and gratitude. Nothing in my hands is insignificant. I declare that new streams of income are being activated. Ideas are awakening. Creativity is being stirred. Skills I once overlooked are becoming sources of provision. God is expanding my capacity to receive, manage, and multiply. I am no longer limited to one path, one door, or one outcome. I declare that favor surrounds my work. Conversations align in my favor. Decisions lean toward blessing. Doors open without struggle. What once required exhausting effort now flows with grace. God is repositioning me into environments where provision is natural and resistance is minimal. I declare that financial overflow does not corrupt my heart, it refines it. I remain grounded, generous, and obedient. I am not consumed by accumulation. I am guided by purpose. Wealth becomes a tool, not an idol. Provision becomes a testimony, not a distraction. I declare that generosity unlocks multiplication. I give without fear. I sow without anxiety. I release without regret. I understand that God multiplies what is placed in His hands. I am not afraid to be a channel because God is my source. I declare that my household is covered. Peace replaces tension. Stability replaces uncertainty. Conversations about money are no longer heavy or stressful. There is clarity, cooperation, and shared vision. God restores harmony where finances once caused division. I declare that overflow is not delayed by past mistakes. Grace redeems what wisdom will now sustain. I do not live under condemnation for financial errors. I live under instruction for future growth. God teaches me to build, not to repeat. I declare that timing is aligning. What felt slow was preparation. What felt blocked was protection. God is releasing increase in the right season, in the right measure, and with the right foundation. Nothing is late. Nothing is wasted. I declare that overflow will testify of God's faithfulness. Others will see the change and recognize that it was not luck, manipulation, or shortcuts, but obedience, faith, and divine order. My life becomes evidence of what God does when His children trust Him fully. This declaration continues to build. What is spoken must now be sealed with consistency and expectation. I seal these declarations with faith, authority, and trust in God's unchanging character. What has been spoken is not fragile. It is established. Heaven has heard, and the process has begun. I do not need to force results. I remain positioned, attentive, and obedient as God completes what He has initiated. I declare that this moment marks the end of one financial season and the beginning of another. I step out of cycles of delay and into cycles of reward. What I plant now will yield with consistency. What I protect now will grow with stability. What I honor now will multiply with purpose. I declare patience without passivity. I wait with expectation, not doubt. I work with diligence, not anxiety. I remain faithful in small acts, knowing that God watches details. Nothing I do in obedience is overlooked. I declare that financial peace becomes my new normal. I no longer live under constant pressure or fear of the unknown. My mind is guarded. My emotions are stable. My decisions are intentional. Money no longer dictates my mood or defines my worth. I declare that God orders my steps. He connects me to the right people, the right opportunities, and the right timing. I avoid traps disguised as shortcuts. I recognize blessings that require preparation, not haste. Discernment protects my increase. I declare that my testimony is forming. Where there was stress, there will be gratitude. Where there was silence, there will be praise. Where there was confusion, there will be clarity. God is not just improving my finances. He is restoring my confidence. I declare that I remain anchored in humility. I do not forget where God found me. I do not become dependent on provision instead of the provider. I remember that overflow is entrusted, not owned. I walk with gratitude, reverence, and obedience. I declare that my future is secure, not because of numbers, but because of alignment. God remains my source in every season. When markets shift, He does not. When systems fail, He sustains. When uncertainty rises, He remains faithful. I declare that I am no longer defined by debt, delay, or deficiency. I am defined by covenant, obedience, and trust. I live from promise, not pressure. I move with confidence, not fear. I close this declaration with thanksgiving. I thank God in advance for what is already moving. I thank Him for wisdom, discipline, favor, and peace. I thank Him for breaking cycles and establishing order. I thank Him for overflow that honors Him and blesses others. This declaration is complete. What was spoken today will continue to manifest in the days ahead. Stay aligned, stay faithful, stay expectant. If this prayer spoke to your spirit, remain connected to this channel. More declarations, prayers, and prophetic guidance are released here regularly.